Ratchet Dorset Isms, and yes, you see that lady over there. You know who she is, and if you don't, go back to season 1 and check it out. But I have to introduce our illustrious guest. He's back, Dr. Tay, part 2. Welcome back, Dr. Tay.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for having me back.
And just
I definitely enjoyed myself last time.
Well, these people might not have seen you last time, but just in case, tell them who you is and what you do and why you here.
Okay, so I am Dr. Tay Bassett. I am a psychologist, professor, what else? Entrepreneur, and all of that other good stuff. But I'm here today as the psychologist. Go back to season 1 and you can learn more about me and mental health and all that good stuff. And I'm so glad to be back with all of you.
Use it.
Most of you.
Use it. Educated me.
Most of you.
Oh.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
We're not gonna ask.
Gotta love the person who has to give a disclaimer.
Honesty's good for the soul.
She's an educated Negro.
Well,
education.
As we always start, guys. First of all, thank you for coming back. We appreciate you giving us all the knowledge that you gave us last episode. So much so that we had to bring you back because we got more to ask you. But before we get into it, we have to introduce ourselves. As always, you know, this is Harlem Luke Skywalker in the building. Harlem.
First Lady Ramona.
Oh, Uptown Ratchet Poppy in the building. Harlem.
Hollywood Dre, Brooklyn. We in there.
Yeah. You already heard from Miss Dr. Tay. So
Wait, everybody says where they're from. Do I get to say where I'm from?
Yeah.
Queens.
Okay, Queens.
You know Nori?
No.
I didn't say where I was
You know Nas?
No.
All right,
I mean, I met him once.
Wait, no. Based on these questions, we need Mr.
Disclaimer
himself.
Oh.
The disclaimer queen himself.
So one more question about Queens.
Oh my gosh.
One more question.
He completely ignored everything that you just said.
Do you know where
disrespectful?
I watch Power a lot. Do you know where the Queens Child Project is at?
Yo. Go with your... Just start the disclaimer.
Alright. The thoughts and opinions of Uptown Brown, Ratchet Poppy, Mr. Receipts, El Capitan, whatever you want to call me.
Mr. Disclaimer.
Mr. Disclaimer. Sure, why not? We got another one. Solely the thoughts and opinions of me and do not reflect upon the lovely cast of Ratchet Dorset Isms or Dr. Tay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great. That was
I
great.
love it. I felt that in my soul this time. Like, all it was, I felt that one.
He acted like he meant that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that was your best one. So
Good.
I appreciate
All right.
the disclaimer.
So, last time we spoke a lot about coping and the different type of levels of coping and different ways to identify and how to do those things to help you with whatever might be ailing you at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, some of our illustrious audience members asked us about some trauma type questions.
Yes.
Right? And before we get into what type of questions, I guess it's always good to probably start on what is trauma?
Yes. I feel like we might have gone over that in season 1, but repetition is the key to learning. So trauma is not what you experience. Trauma is not the event that you've experienced. Trauma is your response to said experience. So that's why there are 10 people can experience the same situation and not everyone is going to have a trauma response. Right. So trauma is the response you have. A trauma response includes flashbacks, nightmares, panic attacks, anxiety, interpersonal difficulties, things like that. So of course, you don't need to have all of those symptoms, but those are symptoms of trauma response.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Does it have to do with Queens?
No,
Okay.
not with Queens.
Okay, all right.
So I've been watching BMF a lot. So how do you think Meech is dealing with the trauma of what happened to his brother?
I'd have to know what happened to his brother.
You ain't been watching BMF?
He got killed?
Nah, I don't want to spoil it for you. But if you know what I'm saying, shout out to 50, shout out to all the BMF crew. But yeah, so how you think, you know what I'm saying, that
She just said that she
I don't watch it.
His brother got shot in the
I don't know the
face.
story now, so you can't give an opinion to it.
Oh, I'm ruining
That was a spoiler alert for people.
Right, it was.
Why y'all need to be watching BMF? Y'all all should be up on this. Like, y'all making me look bad.
So I have a question, Dr. T. It's not about
Yes,
Queens.
thank
It's not
you.
about Queens.
Save us.
So, can I ask you a question as a professional? Can you look at someone or have a conversation with someone and know that they're going through trauma or they need therapy just by just regular everyday conversation like, oh, how's the kids? Or can you tell? Can you feed off of it?
That is a very good question, and I think it's one of the answer is it depends. So if you're a professional, yes, you can kind of discern different not activities but behaviors of a person. It might not tell you that they've experienced a traumatic situation, but they're going through some kind of psychological distress.
Okay.
If you are a layperson and you're not trained, there are different trainings that you can go through. There's like psychological first aid, which is basically like CPR but
Wow.
for emotions.
Wow.
So if you've gone through psychological first aid, then you know kind of things to look for so that you can point a person in the right direction so that they can get help. So the person who's not trained, who hasn't gone through psychological first aid or mental health first aid, they might not know. Or let's take it a step further. If a person has experienced a traumatic situation from childhood and they've been presenting with a trauma response all their life,
Right.
people probably aren't going to realize it because
But
they're
you
going to
can,
say,
though.
I could, but just think of the layperson. If this person has been this way their whole life, they're going to
just
say,
what they
oh, well,
are.
that's just how they are.
Because they normalized it.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Behavior.
Right. When you have engaged or been in an adverse situation or a maladaptive situation for so long and it becomes normal, you're going to accept that as your norm, even though
What's that word you just said? What?
maladaptive.
I don't know what that means.
Mal meaning bad, adaptive meaning, kind of. So it's something that hinders you.
Bad habit, maybe?
Right. So a maladaptive habit, something that.
Terrible way to adjust.
Look at you!
Y'all smart. I didn't know y'all smart, man.
So if
I did.
so for parents and that see their kids every day and let's say they witness something that is something that they normally wouldn't witness. Like let's say a good friend of theirs committed suicide, right?
Died by suicide.
Yeah.
There's been changes in the
Oh,
language,
okay.
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
It's
jump
okay.
in,
No,
but
no, you're good.
there has been a lot of people who are surviving family members of those who have died by suicide, and
Right.
they are really active in changing the language, because if you say that someone has committed suicide, it makes it seem like it was a choice, but it has such a negative
Got
connotation,
it.
and the families want to honor the memory of their loved one and not to have their death be sullied by the negative. So died by suicide, and there's just certain ways you go about saying it. So just
Okay.
No, I
PSA.
wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
So my question was, her friend died by suicide, and they start to act out of character now. Would you say that parents should probably look to are there signs? Is that a sign that I probably need to bring them to a professional to kind of talk these things out, because that was their close friend, and obviously no one goes into life thinking that would happen, right? So-
Right. Yeah, there are definitely signs. I mean, I think even as a clinician, if there is a marked or significant change from the person's norm, then maybe that's not a cause for you to say, okay, you need to see a therapist, you need to take meds, but at least inquire further, ask questions. And I think, as you mentioned, as parents, it's important that we are mindful of how, what makes our child tick and what their norms are. So, we live in a society where parents work multiple jobs, and we might not, be around our children, but we have to make the effort to know them, because if you know them, then it's easier for you to notice a change.
Absolutely.
If you're not there and you're not mindful, then your child could be going through something, they could have experienced something traumatic, and you don't see the change, and then they end up living and functioning in this trauma response.
Oh, but I think that's tough because, like you said, most adults have to work, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they can't be in the house as much as they would like to because they gotta pay bills.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I have
Oh, go
to
ahead.
interject because I was going to school too. I'm a single mom and I know my daughter. Like I just know her energy, and I could come home and she'll say my name, and just the way she says my name. Like, what happened today? What happened? Nothing, Mom. No, what happened?
Right.
Something happened. No, it didn't. Yes, it did. So you don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Something happened today because you're different.
Yes.
And then later on that night, she will come to me and she's like, no, Mom. Or tomorrow, the next day, she'll come to me and she'll tell me what happened. But I just know my child.
That's because you're in tune.
Everybody's
Everybody's not in
have to
tune.
be. You
Everybody's
have
not
to
in
be.
tune.
You have to
But
be.
it's important to be, and even if we, it says, they say that it takes a village to raise a child.
It does.
Even if you are working, maybe there's grandma or auntie or uncle. If you
Godparents.
have godparents,
Right.
somebody's got to know what's going on with this child enough to see the difference. And I think that's a big issue when we're not connected to our children, and not our natural children, but our nieces, our nephews, and things like that. When we're not connected to them, we miss things. So let's say the child was abused, sexually molested, or whatever. If we're not connected to them well enough to see the change, then they're carrying that weight. And then we wonder why they're presenting with certain behaviors when they're adults. Because this traumatic occurrence went unchecked and unaddressed for so long.
Right.
And especially if it happened during childhood, they're not going to come out and say it.
So is that safe to say that the longer it takes for therapy, the harder the breakthrough? Could I interject with that? Or you're saying that?
Maybe not the harder the breakthrough. You might have more resistance on behalf of the person who is in therapy. First of all, it's going to be depending on their background, their ethnic backgrounds, and whether they're in church. It might be difficult to get them into therapy.
Is it easier for children than it is for adults to break through?
When you say breakthrough, what do you mean?
To see a change.
Okay. I would say yes with children, because children are malleable.
Right.
So they're a lot more impressionable, so it's more likely that you can change the trajectory of what they're doing, what
Adults
they're
be too
thinking.
set in their ways.
Right.
Exactly. You can't teach an
Yeah.
old dog new tricks.
Right.
But children, they're more malleable. Does that mean that they're going to be perfect in adulthood? Absolutely not. But I think the earlier, like with education, early intervention is key.
Right.
The earlier you intervene, the better the prognosis and the outcome is going to be. But you have to know enough to make that intervention.
But does that also depend on who you match your child up with?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Therapy is a
Ooh, I felt that,
relationship.
Shit. Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Like, I didn't need the fan.
Sorry. Oh my damn, that part. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr.
Oh my goodness. But therapy is a type of relationship. And if there's no connection, if the child or anyone for that matter doesn't feel like they are being related to and understood, then it's going to be a waste of time and effort and money. So absolutely, it's important that there's a connection. If you see that your child isn't responding, like in the first 4 sessions, find someone else and make sure that the therapy is appropriate for the child. Like especially if the child has experienced something traumatic, there's something called trauma-focused CBT or cognitive behavior therapy. Make sure it's something that the child is going to respond to. Even play therapy. It's not just a matter of, the therapist, I take the kid to therapy and they play checkers every day. No, while they're playing, they're having conversation, or while the child is drawing, what they draw can be, can open up Pandora's box, so to speak.
So, you can teach an old dog new tricks if they want to learn. That's that. And
Wait. Does anyone have a mic that we can drop? Because Luke he's like, first of all.
as someone who has recently made breakthroughs in some of the things that I am working on as far as the trauma
You all done?
that I've experienced. I'm like, yeah, you can do it if you want to get.
If you want to, yes.
If you want to.
I sit corrected. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And secondly, since we started talking about adults, is it are there things you can see in adults to let like regular people be like, ooh, they might be suffering from, or is it that's just a
Therapist.
someone who's a professional to be like,
No, absolutely not. I mean, of course, there's certain things that only a professional will be able to assess. But like I mentioned earlier, there are programs like mental health first aid, and you can see what's going on
It's a
enough.
program. It's called mental health
First aid.
You can Google that and find information on that.
Absolutely, and if you live in New York City, the Thrive, you might have heard of the Thrive program, and they were training people in mental health first aid for free.
Nice.
But once the pandemic hit, they kind of shifted their efforts. If anyone is interested in that training, it's mental health first aid, and you can go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org and you can search trainings based on your zip code. And it's an 8-hour training, but they do have hybrid trainings. They have virtual, they have in person, they have hybrid, and you can get a certification that lasts for 3 years, and you'll be able to see the warning signs and symptoms. Of course, you won't be equipped to treat, but you'll be able to see someone and point them in the right direction.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get certified.
So that's one technique we
Please.
can use
that sounds scary.
Please do.
before going to therapy.
What'd you say?
That's one technique we can use before actually going to therapy. We can go
Well,
through
actually, before, in the sense that if someone is certified in mental health first aid, they will be able to point you in the right direction of therapy.
I'm gonna get certified in mental health first aid.
What?
Yeah, do it.
I feel like
It sounds like growth.
I want to help people.
I feel like there's a shoe that's about to drop.
I want to help. I want to help all my friends. I love you guys.
So we were talking about ways to identify in adults.
Yeah.
Possible signs on trauma.
Yes.
Possibly?
So possibly. So of course, being trained in like mental health first aid, and just being open to learn. If there are people who are in your circle, people who are loved ones, like you'll notice that there's a change. And ask questions. Like you'd be surprised what kind of responses you'd get when you ask questions. Especially if a person is having suicidal thoughts. When you ask those serious but difficult questions, like, do you want to kill yourself? I know. It's,
Can you actually say that and not like is that okay?
yeah, it's best that you ask directly, because if you like tiptoe around it, like, so like, do you want to hurt yourself? And a person can say, yes, I want to hurt myself, but maybe they don't want to kill themselves. There's a difference.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, is there such a thing as committing suicide but not dying? Like,
It's attempting.
Is it a cry for help? Is
Yes.
it attention seeker? When I try to kill myself 3 times, like, how did you really try to kill yourself?
It could be attention seeking, maybe
Yeah.
it's a cry for help, or maybe the
If you really want
person,
to kill yourself, you would have.
or
I
maybe
mean,
the
it's
person
not-
just
I don't know if
didn't
it's easy.
succeed.
But how could you not? I don't know.
It depends on how, like, there are different groups of people, different demographics of people are more likely to use different methods. And of course, this is, now I have to give the disclaimer. We're not telling people how to go about it.
Right.
These are just facts. This is just research. So, for example, women are more likely to use less lethal means.
Okay.
So pills, alcohol. Men are more likely to use more lethal means. So like jumping, or yes. So I guess it depends on the means. Some people will, slit their wrist. It depends on how they do it and if it's the right place.
I don't
Vertical
know.
horizontal.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know anyone personally that tried to commit suicide, but for you to attempt to do it 3 times, like, that takes guts, in my opinion, to want to kill yourself willingly. And for you to want to do that 3 times, I feel like, how do you walk around in the world knowing that you was going to be here? Like,
It's difficult.
yeah.
And that's, some people feel like there's nothing else that they can do. There's no other option. And of course, as a clinician, that's what I am, right? Clinician. You know, we know that there are other options. There's help, there's inpatient programs, there's outpatient programs, but some people, either they don't have access to that information or they are just so consumed by their negative thoughts and their negative experiences and their traumas that they feel like the only way they can get relief is by dying by their own hand.
So I have a question. This is a serious question, yeah. So I have this theory that human beings have like a narcissistic tendency to whenever they're going through some sort of traumatic event that they can't see outside of themselves, and they feel like whatever they're going through is the worst thing ever, and that is no one else that's going through something else that's worse than them, when the reality is there's always somebody going through something worse than them.
Absolutely.
Was that a question or a statement?
That's a question. So do you think that's the reason why people get so consumed within their own situations that's the narrative that they tell themselves, and that's why they go towards suicide? Sometimes, absolutely. Like if they don't have the access or the willingness to access certain services, they're going to think that they're the only person that's going through this. Now you said a mouthful. So as far as they're the only person that's going through this, that's where group therapy is really helpful. A lot of people don't like group therapy. I'm not telling my business, but one of the great things about group therapy is realizing that you're in a space where other people have experienced something similar. So even if no one opens their mouths, you can go in with the assumption that all of these people have experienced something similar, something painful. I used to lead a trauma group. Even though you might not know what everyone's trauma is, everyone here has gone through something. They're there because they've been through something.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's one great thing about group therapy. At the very least, one of the therapeutic qualities is that you feel a part of a group. You feel like you're not alone. Now, the part about there's always someone else going through something worse, yeah, of course. But in that moment, it's not necessarily helpful to minimize what a person is experiencing by comparing what they're going through to what others are going through. Because then that's minimizing your emotional experience.
You're not validating it.
Exactly.
All right.
And most times it's helpful to validate what you're experiencing, because a person can have a wide range of emotions, but some of those are valid.
Right.
And we need to have that validation, whether it comes from within or without. Sometimes you just need to know that you're well within your right to feel that way. I say that a lot to my clients. Okay. Validation is important, because then a person feels like, it's okay for me to feel this way.
Okay.
And then they can grow from that.
So you mentioned as adults, if you talk to your friends or loved ones to see if you see a change, and then you said it's okay to ask them directly.
Yes.
Are you thinking of killing yourself?
Especially when it comes to suicide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what is it that parents used to say? Straight talk gets straight responses or straight answers. I think that you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay, maybe I made it up. But with regard to suicidal thoughts, you have to ask those direct questions, because that's how you're going to get the direct response. Hurting yourself is not the same as suicidal thoughts. Of course, they're not mutually exclusive, but someone can hurt themselves, say, oh, I want to cut myself. That's non-suicidal self-harm.
They're cutters. Yeah.
Right. Non-suicidal self-harm is different from having suicidal thoughts and having the intent and the plan and all of that to actually.
So it's not a slippery slope? I feel like it's a slippery slope.
No, because, can I just say one thing? When I was younger, I used to go through a lot of heartache, and I used to cry a lot, and I had to go through a lot of things. And my therapy was to get a tattoo. And the reason why I would get a tattoo, because I wanted to feel pain. So for me to get rid of that pain that this person caused me, I would get a tattoo. And I understand the cutter equation of that, because it kind of makes sense to me. But I was like, I need to stop doing this, because I'm gonna have a whole body full of tattoos by something. So I was like, I need to find a different way to cope with this. I was getting tattoos after tattoo. Relationship broke up, tattoo. I want to feel pain. When I felt pain, I had to feel pain to get over that pain. And I was getting tattoos.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, boy.
How many tattoos you got?
Stop it.
I have 5.
You have 5. I got at least 40% of my body covered.
Maybe that's
and
your
I
therapy.
never really, and I know for at least
Can you relate? Like
I can't
A
relate.
light bulb went off?
to like
That's why I asked that.
tattoos. Oh,
He just had a breakthrough. An RTI breakthrough. We had an intervention.
I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because the tattoo that I got for Slim definitely was a coping mechanism. Y'all know Slim, you know what I'm saying? It was definitely a coping to get myself through that. I was the first one out of our whole squad to get a Slim tattoo. Because you remember there was a point in our life when we were younger where I was with him every day. Shout out to, you know what I'm saying, Slim Boogie, you know what I'm saying? My brother RIP, you know what I'm saying? But it was a point where I was with him every day for like a year straight. Every day of my life I was with him. So when he passed, like, it hurt me. So, like, I had to run out and get a tattoo. But, like, I could definitely remember
That's mine.
other traumatic moments in my life where I went out to get inked.
Yeah, because it's pain.
So,
it's pain.
wow.
Yeah.
You got to replace the pain with something else.
Yes. And that's why
That's
people often
Never
self-harm.
forget.
And it's not just
Never
cutting.
forget.
People will burn themselves with
Yeah,
cigarettes and
physical
things
pain.
like that.
Right.
Because they would rather experience the physical pain
Right.
than to experience the emotional pain. Because the physical pain, you can kind of deal with that a little bit better. Like you can put medication on it or something like that.
I
But
don't know.
like I have one tattoo, and the one tattoo that I have was a direct response to a trauma.
Absolutely.
So, and I think what you did was very mature and insightful because you realized I'm doing this as a direct response to
I had
pain.
to stop.
I did it too.
I
I did it too. I did it too. I was mature and insightful. I did it.
So, were all your tats a direct response to some kind of pain or traumatic event in your
Well,
life?
I can tell you my very first one was definitely, my very first one when I was 15 years old was definitely a response to a traumatic event.
Was that the one that you were just referring to?
no.
No,
Oh, okay.
that wasn't my first.
Okay.
That probably was maybe like my 8th or 10th.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
And also, I got piercings a lot too. It's like, I was like, I can take the piercings out and still feel pain. What I have a tattoo for, like, let's do that. I got my tongue pierced twice, got my nose pierced 3 times, got this pierced, got this pierced, got my belly button pierced.
What else?
That's it.
I was waiting for him to start asking.
So is there anything else that we can look for or
Vagina?
look at?
I said that's it.
Dr.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything else that we should look for that we can do besides asking directly or?
Ask directly, know the person, be educated, be open to being educated about these things. You don't have to go out and get a doctorate in psychology and practice, but just know, like, go to trainings, you know, they're free webinars so that you can be mindful. And even if it's not your loved one, like, I think at our core as humans, like, we want to see others succeed. And that could probably be a completely separate episode if you don't. But if you see someone on the 7 train, I mean, well, the 7 train doesn't come to Harlem. We can make it Harlem relevant. Whatever train, what,
3 train, my nigga.
The 3.
Watch out.
You gotta delete that.
Okay, we gotta stay on brand. But the 3 train, like, you see someone who's clearly responding to
It was so harsh.
I know, it's all right. Right. Anyway, like, you can see someone who's clearly responding to internal stimuli, and like they're talking to themselves. You can, maybe engage them in conversation.
I'm not doing that, Dr. Tay. Hell no, Dr. Tay. If somebody's talking to themselves in a 2 train, I'm not engaging. Sorry. Sister. I'm just being honest. I'm not doing that.
You're right.
And you know what? You're well within your right. Everyone has their limitations. If you feel like you're going
Especially
to put
girls
yourself...
downtown, they look like they came from Bellevue.
Listen, I'm not doing that. But
If you feel like it's going to put you in danger, and that's something
But
that's...
what's the benefit of engaging to someone who's talking to yourself in a 2 train? What's the benefit to do that?
Not just engaging, but engaging with the purpose of pointing them in the direction of help. Like, I mean, because I'm trained, like, I might be more inclined. Now, I'll be honest. When I'm on the E train, I'm not working. What did I miss? Did you do something?
No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you this time?
It wasn't me.
But, like, I'm not working. But, I might, if someone is really being disruptive on the train and they're saying, like, yelling obscenities or whatever.
Watch yourself.
Prince got a hair.
Okay, let's go with that. They might just have
Danger.
they might just have, what do you call it?
Tourette's.
Music Tourette's, right? Or maybe they're hearing voices telling them to harm
I'm not
someone.
talking to them.
Well,
I heard her voice, I'm gonna kill you, bitch. I'm like, oh no, wait, Dr. Tay told me to intervene. Wait, let's go.
if you're going to be in danger, then no. You exit stage left. I don't care if the train is moving, go between trains, whatever. But again, it's about asking the direct questions. And if you're trained in mental health first aid, then cool. If you're not trained,
Right, it's difficult.
then don't. Just make sure that you separate yourself from that situation as best as possible.
Go on to the next car.
But
Not make it worse.
But you could have someone who's responding to the voices in their head, but the heads,
Give them an edible.
the voices could be harmless. Not all voices are command hallucinations, like, kill that person or harm that person.
Okay.
Some of them are self-deprecating, which could lead them to harm themselves. Or some of them are just like, just voices. Some of them is just like white noise.
Gotcha.
So, we can't assume, and that's a widely spread myth that people who, and I'm kind of deviating, but if a person has psychotic symptoms and they're hearing voices and they're seeing things, we automatically assume that they're dangerous. But they're no more dangerous than people who don't have a diagnosis. That's just an assumption for people who just don't know. So things that are out of the norm, maybe.
I don't think it's dangerous. I think it's kind of scary though. And sometimes I'm
not for a New Yorker
Someone
though.
hears voices.
So if I see that,
Because we see it often. Like,
if I see that on the train, I'm not
unfortunately.
really feel like I'm in danger, but I'm a little scared. Like it's kind of scary to see that, because it's not normal behavior to see someone talking to themselves.
Just make you grab your pepper spray.
No, but it just makes me a little scary. It's a little scary sometimes. But
Uncomfortable because you don't.
Yeah,
it's the fear of the unknown. You don't know if the person can go from 0 to 100.
Right, that's what it is.
Maybe they're just having a conversation with themselves,
Right.
or maybe they are agitated. Like I was on a train late with some friends in like high school or whatever, and this guy was clearly agitated. And one of my friends who was with me, he laughed. And I don't know if he was laughing at the guy or laughing at something, but the guy threw his beer on us.
See?
So that was a situation where maybe he was just having a conversation with himself and he was fine. But then something in his environment agitated him or exacerbated what he was already going through, and we all ended up smelling
Trey,
like
you
butt.
quiet over there,
Why is
Trey.
it?
I'm just listening.
Y'all didn't jump on?
Taking it all
No, you
Yeah.
got off the train.
Y'all didn't jump on?
No, I didn't. I'm not a fighter.
So,
I'm a lover.
but so how do you know if a person needs therapy as opposed to needing to see like a psychiatrist?
Okay, so for a lay person, you will not be able to determine if a person needs therapy or needs to see a psychiatrist. The difference is that therapy is talk therapy, psychiatrist is medicinal. Well, wait. You're not leaves, but not that kind of medicinal.
You said for a lay
Shrubs.
person, that's for like, do you eat the potato chips or waffles? Or?
Someone who's not trained, like a psychologist or a social worker or whatever, if you are not one of those people, then you are unable to determine whether or not a person will be fine with just talk therapy or if they need medication to supplement that.
Okay.
But some people do, like the people who are, hearing voices. If you're hearing voices, you're not going to be able to respond and apply what your therapist is sharing with you, right?
I don't know.
Okay, probably
wait,
not.
Wait. The reason why I'm saying is, might be the Holy Ghost talking to you. I'm sorry.
What if I don't hear
Record the
voices, but I hear music in my head?
We're not talking about.
I hear music. I hear music in my head all the time.
Yeah, that's different. But
I hear
no,
music.
but what I'm saying
Yeah,
is,
I'm a
if it's
musician,
so
so
much,
I-
if you're hearing whatever it is, so much so that you are unable to attend to what's going on in the here and now,
Okay.
then you might need some medication to bring you back to your baseline so that you can hear, receive,
So
and
it's talking
apply
to
what you're
yourself?
learning.
It's talking to yourself a little baseline, borderline psychotic, or no?
No, I mean, one of
Depends
the
on how
ways
you
that we
feel yourself.
determine
Like
if
if you
a
say self,
person.
when you say self, say self say like no, that's not.
So one of the ways that we determine if something is
Self say
You like, you know what? So I hate to take the 3 train.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
The 3 train.
Like the Kermit the
All right,
Frog meme.
stop. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dr. Tay. Sorry.
Okay, I just want to know.
So, the way that we determine if a person has a psychological disorder is if it impairs their functioning. So if you talk to self and self says, but you're still able to engage in your activities of daily living and you're able to lead a full life, then it's not harming you. You're still able to function. But if you're responding to the folks in your head, the council, and they're responding back to you and they're telling you to do things that are not socially acceptable, then that...
Not trying to be funny, but to me it sounds like you're a functioning psychopath. Like,
no, psychopath is different from someone who's
functioning schizophrenic, because they have functioning alcoholics, they have functioning
right. There are
drug
people
addicts,
who hear voices.
So there's functioning
but
schizophrenic.
They're checking you out. They're checking you out at Rite Aid. They
so
might
they're functioning.
They are functioning, absolutely.
Okay.
There are
What if
people.
I hear music?
But you're able to function. You're able to do your job.
It stops me when I'm doing this show.
You have other things that are possibly affecting your functioning.
Why are you blaming my mug?
So
This
I'm
mug's
sorry, Dr.
inanimate
What's in the mug?
So can I ask you a question?
What was in the mug? That's exactly the problem.
Dr. Tay.
Question: if you're functioning, does it mean that you should not seek help since you're functioning?
That is a great question.
Do you not seek help as long as you're functioning?
Not necessarily, because I think everyone could benefit from therapy to better understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
Because you might think that you're functioning optimally when you're not, when you're barely functioning, or you're functioning in what you think is normal when in actuality it's not normal at all.
Right.
Good point.
So who's to say what's normal and what's unnormal?
It's not for a psychologist or a mental health professional to determine what's normal. We can determine what is not acceptable, but healthy. So it's not a matter of normal. Like, you're not going to come into my office and I say, well, that ain't normal, sis. But when we are assessing, like, people, there's it's NWL. WNL, within normal limits. So you can have a range of emotions or a range of behaviors, but if they're within normal limits, then you're good. But if they're outside of those limits and they hinder your functioning, then it's not normal. But no ethical therapist is going to say, oh yeah, that's not normal.
So as long as you NWO, NWA, you all right.
My word.
I knew
What's
this was coming. So, Dr. Tate, I always hate to come to this point of the show.
Oh man.
Damn, Gina.
Damn, Gina, I will marry you.
I don't ever want a proposal like that. Lord have mercy. Like, let's not talk about proposals. Good job.
We've come to our final thoughts.
I was called bougie during my proposal. I don't remember anything else.
Dr. Tate.
Good job.
Part 2 with us. Final thoughts, guys. What
Is that a traumatic moment?
Traumatic, I swear. Hollywood Dre, you start us off with the final thoughts, sir.
Oh, well, final thought, what I learned on today.
So churchy. So churchy.
Is that everybody, how many bodies?
Everybody.
Shout out to Corey
Take your time.
Needs therapy.
Yep.
Yes, everyone needs to be therapized. Absolutely.
Even the therapist.
Every Monday, 1 o'clock.
Nice.
So with that being said, you got a spot open for Uptown?
Why did you?
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I might have to refer Uptown out because I don't know if I have the capacity to handle all of his stuff.
All right, Mr. Uptown.
That's what she
final
said.
thoughts after hearing
Yo!
that.
Yo,
I
get
messed with you,
control
you
and
said, bro?
check.
That's what she said.
I said I might not have the capacity to handle all of his stuff.
And
then I've been telling them all night. Stop crossing.
My man.
And this is why I didn't want to sit in between them.
My man. My final thoughts is my man.
You brought me into this situation.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, whatever, Willis.
That's
Final
it?
thoughts, really?
That was my thoughts. My man. Yeah.
Wow.
Why not?
There was a lot of behind the scenes enlightenment, and it was just so amazing to hear. I'm sorry you guys weren't able to be privy to it, but my final thoughts are: therapy is not as scary as you might think. Yeah, we all can do the work and eventually get to our own individual breakthroughs, but you wouldn't go to a chiropractor for toothache, right? Like you go to professionals that are there to help you and assist you in your own personal growth. So I would say hit up Dr. Tay or any other professional that'll be able to assist
Absolutely.
you. Definitely Dr. Tay. Y'all heard it here first.
Get your checkbooks right. If y'all gonna hit up Dr. Tay.
Right. So my final thought is basically, again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I love to see us, black women. I love to see it. It encourages other black women that thought that no one could relate to them.
Hey, girl.
When they see you, they have some kind of relation. You're like the black woman's Dr. McStuffin. They're like psychiatry. You're like, they're that
I'll take it. I will take it.
And also, I want to say that I'm glad that we have somewhere to go.
Wait.
I'm glad. Excuse me. Are you being rude?
Yes. Wait. Dr. McStuffins is not a backyard
I
again.
didn't see that.
Oh, what'd you say?
Excuse me.
You thought I was a backyard again?
Let her finish.
Interrupting my final thoughts.
That was rude. I'm sorry. I encouraged his rudeness. I apologize.
You know what my final thoughts is? My man. That's it. You know what it's about me? My man. That's it.
All right, Dr. Tay, you gotta take us home.
Final thoughts.
I got a point too. I'm gonna say something.
You said something about Doc McStuffins and then
She's about to be mad prolific. Let's go.
She gonna be like, I ain't coming back
She's
here.
about to be pretty.
No, I want you to say that. I just feel like mental health should be a part of hiring. You should do a mental check for every employee that gets hired, because a lot of times people are mental and they go crazy, and I had it happen before at a workplace, and I feel like every employee you should get your health check, you should get your PPD check, and you should get a mental health check for every job that you go to.
and some jobs they do, but
I think it's every job.
yeah.
PPD and OPP.
No, not if you're in construction site. We fine.
Even construction site.
Nah, we fine.
No. No.
You don't want me to work, do you?
That part.
Dr. Tay, take us home.
It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Did I end with that last time?
I don't know.
I feel it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Like I might have.
Sounds good.
But yeah, it's okay to not be okay. And if you're listening to webinars and podcasts like RTI, and you feel like you can identify with what you're hearing, it's okay. There are resources. If you Google black therapist, you're going to get websites, you're going to get resources. So, and not saying that only the RTI listeners are only melanated, but whatever you're going through, you can Google it and you can find help. And if you can't, reach out to the RTI host and they can get in touch with me or put you in contact with someone so that you can get help, because it's out there. Mm-hmm. It's out there.
Yes,
Yeah, put your IG up there. I'm gonna put it up there, but
Okay.
So that they know.
That's Dr. Tay, THATSDRTE on Instagram, on Facebook, and that is also my email. That's drtay@gmail.com. You can feel free to reach out to me. I am not currently in private practice, but I can absolutely point you in the right direction of people I personally believe are the bomb, people I graduated with, and yeah.
Can you give me in touch with Dr. House?
So, thank you so much, Dr. Tay, for coming back. We appreciate you. I don't even know what to say. The type of gracious thoughts and just benevolence that we've all learned today from you. And our last time when you were here, I think I want to bring you back.
I don't mind.
You know
I don't mind being like the.
I think you should come back once every season.
I don't mind.
I'm just saying.
I don't mind being the RTI therapist. I don't mind.
Hey,
Heard it here.
Let's get it.
Heard it.
Here first.
Facts.
All right. So as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. Dr. Tate, thank you. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for having me. Always a good time with RTI family.
Thank you.
Yes, and as you already know, Harlem Luke Skywalker.
First Lady Ramona.
Hollywood Dre.
He got stuck. He had to think about it like, oh man.
Ratchet Poppy.
He was like, do I want to do it?
I didn't want to.
I know, he didn't want I know, I forced it on him.
Have a great day and a better tomorrow. We love y'all.